When a woman is 8 months pregnant, her body carries more than just a child. It carries the weight of expectations, silent sacrifices, and the invisible hope that the one she loves will still see her. Not just the swelling, not just the fatigue, but the soul behind it all. That night, I dressed carefully, not for the world, but for him. Perhaps if I tried hard enough, he'd still remember the woman he once chose without hesitation. But the moment we entered the banquet hall, I felt it. The quiet betrayal that doesn't need words. His secretary, Gazelle, hovered beside him like a shadow with too much perfume. Her laughter clung to him, her hand on his arm, like it belonged there. I stood there, swollen with life, and silently shrinking in presence. Then came the wine. Her overly sweet smile didn't match the malice behind her eyes. I politely declined. I didn't want it. I couldn't have it. But she insisted, her gesture too forceful, too rehearsed, and in that moment, a moment so small yet so heavy, the glass tipped, red wine spilled like accusation, soaking her designer dress. And just like that, she collapsed into theatrical tears, as though I had shattered her world. Everyone stared. I became the villain in someone else's script. Later that night, as I lay on the couch, trying to regulate my breath, my phone began to buzz. Notifications flooded in. A video, one I had never expected to see outside our home, had been leaked. In it, I was dancing, slowly, playfully. I had worn a soft, flowing top that clung to my belly, and I moved to lift his spirit during one of his breakdowns. I was trying to bring light into the darkness, but the world doesn't see intention, only surface. The internet was ruthless. Words like daggers, disgrace, attention seeker, bad mother. One said I looked like a whale trying to seduce someone. Another mocked my stretch marks, but worse than the words was the silence from him. I went to find him, heart pounding with the irrational hope that maybe, just maybe, he'd be angry for me, not at me. Maybe he'd already seen it and was preparing to shield me. But as I reached the study, I heard voices, his and another man's. "She's overreacting. It was just a damn drink." He laughed, carefree. "Since when does some over-the-hill woman get to act like she owns the place?" He spoke of me like I was a problem to be solved, like I was a weight to be discarded. The man beside him laughed, emboldened by the cruelty. "You really work it to be good. What's that magic, Hunter? You turned that little housewife into a full-blown slut." They laughed, they joked, as if my pain had become a form of entertainment. "She's 8 months pregnant," Hunter said with disgust. "She looks like a bloated tick. Who would want her now?" In that moment, something inside me detached, not with drama, not with noise, but with a kind of quiet death. I didn't cry, I didn't scream. I just took out my phone and booked an abortion. Not because I wanted to, but because I no longer knew who I was bringing a child into the world with. But it didn't end there. Later, he gathered more people in that same room. And like a sick circus, they watched my dance video projected on the wall. My swollen body, my vulnerable moment, played for their laughter, their judgment, their power. One person, just one, hesitated. "President Lawson, she's still your wife. She's carrying your child. Are you sure this is wise?" And then came his voice, colder than before. "She didn't care about Gazelle's feelings when she humiliated her. If she loses the baby, that's on her, not me." His words weren't just cruel. They were surgical, measured, detached. The kind of cruelty that psychology defines as instrumental aggression. Calculated, not emotional. And that's what cut the deepest. This wasn't rage, it was strategy. Someone in the crowd tried to lighten the mood, laughing. "Come on, everyone knows Hunter belongs with Gazelle. Raina's just a beached whale." Another chimed in. "If a woman lets herself go, she's got no one to blame but herself. Pressure keeps them in line." That sentence, that ideology, it's not just misogynistic, it's dangerous. It's the kind of thinking that turns relationships into battlegrounds and women into property to be maintained. It's the shadow side of society, the one Carl Jung warned about when he said, "Until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life, and you will call it fate." And then, like twisting the knife, Hunter played another video, one I didn't know he'd kept. I watched myself, earlier in pregnancy, trying to be beautiful for him, still clinging to hope, still believing I mattered. But what I felt was not desire, not intimacy, just shame. Hunter wasn't always like this. Once, he was shy. He used to blush just speaking to me. That vulnerability, it touched something in me. But somewhere along the way, power tasted better than love, and cruelty replaced connection. And I had to wake up. I fell for him instantly. Not the kind of falling that's cautious or calculated, but the kind that feels like surrender, unguarded, complete. I was the one who made the first move. I chased him without hesitation, believing in the naive but beautiful idea that love at first sight could melt even the coldest soul. He told me he didn't want to marry until he had built something of his own, until he was stable, until he felt worthy. And so I waited. 8 years passed like an echo chamber of promises and excuses. I told myself that love was patient, that devotion would be enough, that sacrifice would eventually be rewarded. He often complained about his business dinners, the endless nights with clients dragging him to places filled with women he claimed he had no interest in. "The only one I want to see dance is you," he'd say. And I believed him. So I learned to dance. I danced everything, from flamenco to jazz, salsa to slow waltz. I studied every movement that might spark joy in his eyes. I gave up my pride. I gave up my dignity. And I called it love. Even when I was pregnant, back aching, legs cramping, heart heavy, I still danced because I believed that devotion had currency. I believed the universe kept a ledger, that if I poured enough of myself into this relationship, it would eventually pour something back into me. But no one tells you that sometimes the cup you fill with your soul ends up in someone else's hands. The videos I had filmed, intimate, loving, fragile moments, became playthings, passed around like novelty clips, watched, judged, mocked, especially by her, Gazelle. Her name had become a haunting rhythm in my life. She was always there, every dinner, every trip, every client meeting, always orbiting him. I had once joked about it, asked him if he didn't find their closeness excessive. He tapped my nose and said with a smile, "She's got nothing on you. She can't move like you. I prefer someone who knows how to seduce me." I laughed, because laughter is sometimes the only defense we have when our gut whispers truths we're not ready to face. But last night, reality tore through the illusion. At the company dinner, Gazelle came to me holding a glass of wine. She knew I was pregnant. Everyone did. But she insisted, smiling sweetly like a snake coiled behind sugar. I declined politely, thinking the moment would pass. But with practiced drama, she gasped and spilled the wine all over herself, deliberately. She burst into tears and fled the room, like the victim of some cruelty I never committed. Hunter saw it all. He said nothing, and that silence, Oski, was louder than any accusation. On the way home, I asked why. Why didn't he step in? Why didn't he speak up? His answer was cold in its simplicity. "Gazelle's just a kid. Don't stress yourself. Think about the baby." But how can you think about the baby when you no longer feel safe in the world the baby is coming into? That night, a video of me dancing, sweaty, tired, vulnerable, leaked online. It went viral within hours. The account was linked to Gazelle, but the footage could only have come from one person, Hunter. There was no more ambiguity, no more blurred lines. His betrayal was now public, deliberate, and cruel. He chose a side, and it wasn't mine. I booked an appointment 3 days from now. I stared at the screen through blurry tears, trying to recognize myself in the reflection of that decision. The relationship, if it could still be called that, was over. The fantasy had bled out. I curled up in bed, silent, somewhere between grief and numbness. Outside, I heard the laughter of his friends leaving, the sound of the front door closing behind them. It should have brought peace. Instead, it made the silence feel heavier. He walked in like nothing happened, pulled me into his arms, as if the world hadn't shifted. "Is the baby bothering you again?" he asked gently. "Or are you still upset about last night?" I didn't answer. Because there are no words for the kind of pain that doesn't live in flesh, but in spirit. Betrayal doesn't bruise the skin, it hollows the soul. He was calm, too calm, the kind of calm that masks manipulation. And right on cue, he began to defend her. She's just a kid, Raina. She doesn't mean anything by it. She even calls you sister-in-law. Can't you just let it go? But I had let it go. For 8 years, I let it go when she called me old. When she mocked me in front of his friends. When she mailed me a dead rat. Yes, a dead rat. And he said she was just being immature. When she leaked that video, and he didn't even flinch. What is immaturity really? Psychology defines it not by age but by patterns. When someone consistently avoids responsibility, disregards boundaries, and refuses to show empathy. And what's worse than immaturity is the enabler of it. To him, she was always the child who didn't know better, and I was always the one who had to rise above. But a relationship where one person must always be the bigger person eventually becomes a place where only one person is allowed to grow. And in his eyes, Gazelle never crossed the line, because for him, the line was never drawn to protect me. It's always me. I looked at him blankly, then slowly pushed him away. My voice came out cold and steady. Tell me this, Hunter. How did Gazelle get her hands on that video? You were the only one who recorded it. You never lost your phone. So how did she end up with it? What are you hiding from me? Don't I deserve the truth? In 8 years together, this was the first time I had ever really confronted him. Truly fearlessly, Hunter's expression changed immediately. His frustration bubbled to the surface. There you go again, always jumping to conclusions. Yes, I filmed the video, but I use my phone for everything. Work, meetings, documents. It's not that hard to believe. She might have seen it. I didn't leak it. Okay, she posted it by accident. Why are you blowing this out of proportion? Why does it even matter what other people think? This is our life. Shouldn't it be enough that I believe you or he paused, eyes narrowing? Are you just mad because you were planning to seduce someone else, and her video ruined your chance? I stared at him stunned for a second. I didn't even recognize the man standing in front of me. I didn't feel angry anymore. I felt numb, so numb. I didn't even try to defend myself. Instead, I turned away and started packing. I couldn't stay here, not another minute. But just as I reached for my bag, his phone rang. He answered, and Gazelle's tearful voice poured out of the speaker. President Lawson, I didn't mean to post the video. It was an accident. I swear I already took it down. But does she really have to force me to quit? I'm all alone here. I have no one. This job is the only thing I have. My mom's in the hospital. She needs urgent surgery, and we have no money. If I lose this job, I'm done for. I'll die. I'm sorry. Really? I'll do anything. I'll even run outside naked if that's what it takes for her to forgive me. Just please don't let her fire me. Then she forwarded Hunter a screenshot of a message anonymous, but clearly siding with me. The message told her to delete the video and issue a public apology or she'd be fired. Within 24 hours, Hunter's face turned crimson with rage. He flung the phone at me. Rainer, who gave you the right to fire my employees? Gazelles, just a young girl. Do you really have to take it this far? How is she supposed to show her face at work again? I looked at him, my heart pounding. So that's what I was to him. Now, an overreacting, vengeful wife, she cried, and he wanted to protect her. I bled, and he asked me to be more understanding. She says she'll die without this job, and his heart breaks. I almost lost our child last night, and he didn't even ask if I was okay. At that moment, I realized he hadn't once asked how I felt, not as his wife, not as the mother of his child, just nothing. Let me tell you, Gazelle is mine. If anything happens to her, I swear I won't let you off easy. The message came from a virtual number. My phone had already been shut off ever since the online harassment started, right after I booked the surgery. I couldn't have sent that message even if I wanted to, but Hunter didn't care. He didn't ask questions. He didn't investigate. He didn't believe me. He just threw those words at me with cold finality and dragged me violently into his car for the next hour. We drove aimlessly around Gazelle's neighborhood. He was so worked up his foot never left the gas. The car jolted over bumps and potholes, each one sending stabbing pain through my abdomen. I begged him to slow down, told him I was in pain, but he didn't even look at me. Not once until he spotted Gazelle, stumbling along the sidewalk, holding her stomach. That's when he finally reacted. He slammed on the brakes, jumped out of the car like he'd seen his whole world collapsing, and swept her into his arms like she was made of glass. Then he sped off to the hospital, breaking every speed limit along the way. At the emergency room, he stayed glued to Gazelle's side, frantically questioning the doctors and me. I was left alone in the hallway. Forgotten people stared at me. I could feel their eyes crawling over my skin. Whispers turned into chuckles. "Isn't that the girl from the video? Damn, she's even hotter in person. Look at those curves. Can't imagine how wild she must be in bed." Heard pregnant women get super horny. Her husband couldn't keep up, so she turned to the internet. Hey, maybe I should ask how much she charges. Might get lucky. A sleazy-looking middle-aged man walked right up to me, smirking $500 for the night. "What do you say? I'll make it worth your time." I took a step back, disgusted, then another, until I backed straight into Hunter. He had just walked out of the ER, his eyes locked onto the man, and for a second, they were ice cold. That one look was enough. The guy turned and fled without a word. I thought maybe he'd ask if I was okay, but no. Hunter grabbed my wrist with force and yanked me into the room like I was nothing but an embarrassment. Seriously, you couldn't keep it together for even a few minutes, he snapped. "I didn't realize you were this desperate, Rainer, this shameless." The ER walls were thin. Gazelle, lying on her hospital bed, clearly heard everything. She gave him a sweet, pitiful smile. "President Lawson, don't be angry. It wasn't her fault, it was mine. I accidentally posted the video. Rainer, please don't take it to heart. I already deleted the original, and the rest are just reposts from random nets. Once I'm discharged, I'll sue them one by one. It'll all blow over soon." I was clutching my belly, trying to endure the pain shooting through me, and yet Hunter's expression grew even colder. "You don't need to apologize," he said to her. "She does. Maybe the video was an accident, but those threatening messages, that was deliberate." He turned to me, voice sharp as a blade. "Stop pretending. Gazelle's the one who got hurt, not you. Now apologize to her." I felt something inside me snap. "Apologize." I shot back, my voice trembling with rage. "I'm the one whose private video got leaked. I'm the one being harassed by strangers. I'm the one carrying your child. And you think I sent those messages? Are you out of your mind?" Before I even had a chance to react, his hand came crashing down across my face. The sharp sting spread like wildfire across my cheek, leaving it hot and throbbing. "You're so damn stubborn," he snapped, eyes blazing with fury. "Come on, you've always hated Gazelle if you didn't send those texts." Then who the hell did? His voice was like a whip, each word lashing out with accusation and disbelief. "Raina, I'm telling you for the last damn time, apologize." Tears welled up, burning at the corners of my eyes, but I refused to let them fall. I clenched my fists, staring straight at him, my voice low but steady despite the pain. "And I'm telling you, I won't." I turned on my heel, heart pounding, and took a step toward the door. Then bang! An ashtray slammed into the wall right beside me, shattering into pieces. I froze. "Go on." Then he said coldly, "But if you walk out that door, don't ever think about coming back." I didn't hesitate. I didn't look back. I walked straight out of the hospital and into the night, my cheeks still burning, my heart already numb. It was nearly 3 a.m. by the time I checked into the nearest hotel. I barely had the strength to shower. As soon as I laid down, my phone buzzed with a new notification. It was from Gazelle. She had just posted a photo to her feed. In it, Hunter was gently blowing on a bowl of porridge, carefully holding it out for her with what looked like tender affection beside the bed. A jewelry box lay open, the sparkling contents visible, even in the dim lighting. The caption beneath it read, "Sweet words mean nothing. next to a warm bowl of porridge at 2 a.m. It's okay if the right one shows up. A little late, my chest tightened. The comments were filled with company staff showering her with praise, calling her Mrs. Lawson like it was already official. Hunter hadn't stopped them. He hadn't corrected a single person. In fact, he had even liked the post. He agreed with it, with her words, with her story, with her identity. And in that moment, it hit me how cheap my position in this so-called marriage had become, how easily replaced I was, how ridiculous I must have looked holding on to something that had already been given away. I turned off my phone and curled up under the hotel sheets, too drained to cry, too broken to think. Sleep came fast, heavy, and dreamless. When I woke up, it was to the shrill vibration of my phone. Hunter's name lit up the screen against my better judgment. I answered, "Where are you?" His tone was tight, laced with irritation. I followed my brow. "Why do you care?" He let out a long breath, clearly trying to keep his temper in check. "Even if you don't care about yourself, think about the baby. Just tell me where you are. I'll come pick you up." Then, almost like it was supposed to be comforting, he added, "Gazelle explained everything about last night. She's willing to let it go. She even wants to make it up to you, invited you to dinner tonight. Don't make things worse than they already are." I let out a tired sigh. Honestly, I didn't have the energy to argue anymore. Maybe it was time to have a real conversation. So I sent him my hotel location. He arrived not long after, but Gazelle was sitting in the front passenger seat. When she saw me approach, she turned and flashed me an exaggeratedly sweet smile. "Oops, sorry sis, my foot's still a little sore. Hope you don't mind sitting in the back." Hunter didn't even look at me. Not a word, not a glance. Too tired to fight. I got into the back seat without saying anything. The whole drive, Gazelle kept chattering away, painting herself as the victim-turned-princess. She talked about how attentive Hunter had been, how he'd helped her move into a new place, how he'd approved her raise, and even given her a $100,000 bonus just to cheer her up. She probably thought she was getting under my skin with every smug word, but honestly, I wasn't even angry anymore. I felt hollow in the rearview mirror. I caught Hunter glancing back at me now, and then his eyes flicked toward me with a kind of hesitance, like he could sense something was off. But he didn't ask, and I didn't say a word. When we arrived at the private room inside the club, I kept my head down, hoping to go unnoticed. I could feel the heat of everyone's eyes, the whispers brushing against my skin, like tiny needles. I didn't want to be seen, not like this, but luck wasn't on my side. Someone recognized me. The club owner strutted over, sizing me up with an oily grin. "Looking for work, sweetheart?" he smeared. "We've got an opening for a dancer, $5,000 a month. Not bad for someone with your experience." My stomach twisted. I tried to ignore him and slipped past, but his hand brushed against my arm, possessive and disgusting. All the while, Hunter stood nearby gently, helping Gazelle smooth out a crease in her dress, his expression calm and indifferent, like none of this concerned him. I wrenched my arm free and stumbled into the room, but the laughter and mocking voices followed me inside, like shadows that wouldn't let go. "She's acting all shy now. Please, at her age, she should be grateful. Anyone even bothers to look at her 8 months pregnant and waddling around like a bloated pig? What difference does it make where she dances?" I heard her videos made it to some fetish site. People are requesting to see her dance. Can you believe that? What kind of freaks are into that? Still, those clips pulled in tens of thousands of views. Guess she's just chasing the money now. Gotta say though, seeing her up close, way hotter than on camera. I'd love to get a feel myself. Their words hit me like slap after slap, but I forced myself to keep walking. My face burned with shame. I turned to leave, desperate for air, for escape, anything. But Hunter and Gazelle were already at the doorway, standing shoulder to shoulder, like gatekeepers to my humiliation. Gazelle reached out and wrapped her arm through mine, her expression soft and sweet, her voice coated in fake warmth, leaving already sis, but the party's just getting started. Everyone's been waiting for you." She leaned closer, as if we were the best of friends. "This whole thing, it's for you. I planned it as an apology for the video, for everything. Please stay. It won't be any fun without you." She grabbed a glass of red wine from the table and pressed it into my hand. "Come on, sis. Let's let bygones be bygones. Just one drink to make peace." I looked down at the glass, then at my round, aching belly. My child was still kicking, reminding me that I wasn't just responsible for myself anymore. I'm sorry," I said quietly. "I can't drink. I'm pregnant." The moment the words left my mouth, the room exploded with ridicule. "Oh, come on, sis. Don't act like you're suddenly a saint. You've been drinking and dancing in those videos. What? This wine isn't good enough because President Lawson didn't pour it for you himself." "Exactly. Fair's fair. You danced, you drank. Don't act like we're asking for too much. You dodged it last time. Not tonight. If you don't drink, it's basically a slap in the face to President Lawson." Before I could react, one of the male staff members suddenly grabbed me, his arm, thick and heavy, clamped around my shoulders, forcing me upright like I was some kind of show prop. I turned to Hunter, desperate, pleading with my eyes for him to say something to stop them, but he didn't even look up from his phone. My heart dropped. The wine glass was hovering dangerously close to my lips. When I snapped, I shoved it away with all the strength I had left. It slipped from my fingers and shattered against the floor, spraying red across the tiles like spilled blood. Giselle's eyes instantly welled with tears, her lips trembling with exaggerated hurt. "You are still mad at me, aren't you?" She took a step back, her voice cracking just enough to sound believable. "I planned this whole party just to apologize. I was trying to do the right thing. But if you won't even accept a drink from me, I guess that means you still haven't forgiven me." She turned dramatically, starting toward the door. That's when Hunter finally lifted his head. "Rainer," he said sharply, "that's enough. It's just one drink. It's not going to kill you." My throat tightened. I looked him in the eye, voice barely more than a whisper. "But I'm allergic to alcohol," I said, pain dripping from every word. "Did you forget for a moment?" There was silence. A flicker of recognition crossed his face, faint, distant. He remembered 8 years ago a single sip had sent me into anaphylactic shock. He had carried me to the hospital in his arms. His jaw tightened and his expression darkened. But before he could say anything, Giselle smoothly stepped in. "Oh, I'm so sorry," she gasped immediately. Switching gears, she pulled the wine glass out of my hand and replaced it with another. "This one filled with juice here, sis. This one's safe. I would never hurt you on purpose." Her voice dripped with concern, but her eyes, those triumphant, calculating eyes, told a different story entirely. "My bad, I should have asked. First juice should be fine, right?" Gazelle could sweetly, her voice syrup and fake. Then with a smirk tugging at the corner of her lips, she added, "Since your little dance video is going viral, why not treat everyone to a live performance? We are dying to see the real thing." The room exploded with tears and laughter. "Come on, do it. Don't be shy. That video was hot. Your moves, your body. Damn, at least a decked cup, right? You put those internet girls to shame." I stood there, frozen, my palms clammy. My head buzzed from the noise. My face had gone ghostly pale. I instinctively tried to back away, mumbling that I didn't feel well, hoping to quietly slip out. But before I could reach the door, Hunter made a subtle gesture, and one of the male employees casually turned the lock with a loud click. "Rainer Hunter," said his voice laced with forced calm. "You don't have to drink. Just give us a little dance. Everyone wants to see it. Call it a team bonding moment. Don't be such a downer." Then he added thiefly, almost like a final stab, "There's no outsiders here." That sentence snuffed out the last flicker of hope in me. I was supposed to be the one receiving apologies tonight, the one they'd wronged. But here I was being treated like entertainment for the very people who humiliated me. A clown in my own nightmare. Gazelle suddenly grabbed my hand, yanking me toward the center of the room, where someone had cleared a space and dimmed the lights. Thanks for forgiving me, sis, she chirped with exaggerated joy with a body like yours. That dance is gonna be amazing. I stood stiffly in the spotlight, my body trembling. I didn't want to cry in front of them, didn't want to give them that satisfaction. In a panic, trying to anchor myself, I grabbed the glass of juice and downed it in one gulp. I, completely unaware of the mocking glance exchanged between two men near the bar. At first, the room spun just a little. Then everything began to blur. My limbs felt heavy. My vision dimmed around the edges. I stayed rooted in place. Unmoving a beat past, then Hunter, clearly irritated, unbuckled his belt and cracked it through the air. The sound made me flinch when I didn't respond. He struck me hard across the back. Move. He snapped. You love dancing, don't you? Go on, dance. The pain was sharp, stinging, but worse than the physical agony was the sheer degradation. I was forced to press myself up against a column, my body twisting unnaturally under his commands. My arms moved, legs swayed, but I had no control, only the drug in my system pushing me into humiliating motion. The crowd whooped and laughed, some cheering, some recording. Hunter's lashes came down again, harder, sharper. Under the growing heat, in my lower belly, I felt something go terribly wrong. The pain shifted from sharp to deep searing. Then warm liquid soaked through the fabric of my maternity dress. A sticky wetness ran down my thighs, catching the light like oil under a street lamp. Gazelle was the first to react. Hunter, look, her dress is soaked. Oh my God. Did she just pee herself? She shrieked, laughing and pointing like a child in a schoolyard. I've heard pregnant women can't hold it in. But seriously, if you didn't want to dance, you didn't have to humiliate him like this. Hunter's face twisted into a grimace. His eyes narrowed. Rainer, are you seriously doing this on purpose? You think this is cute? You trying to get back at me by pissing yourself in front of everyone? He tossed the belt aside. The second he stopped hitting me, my knees buckled, and I collapsed onto the floor. My hands trembled violently as I reached out, crawling to him, my voice hoarse and broken. Hunter, my water, it broke. Please take me to the hospital. He didn't even flinch. Instead, he kicked me away like trash. You are only 8 months along. Your water didn't break. At least lie better. If you're gonna fake something, if you like being dramatic so much, go ahead. Put on a show. I'm done. Then he turned and left with the others, the door slamming shut behind him. I lay there alone, barely conscious, curled on the cold floor, with fluid pooling beneath me. 2 hours passed. 2 full hours before a janitor passing by noticed the light still on and came inside. He found me barely breathing and rushed me to the hospital, but it was too late. The baby was gone. When I woke up, it was already the next morning. The hospital room was sterile and silent, except for the whispers outside. The nurse avoided my eyes. A video had gone viral overnight. Me writhing on that stage, drenched and dazed. Another punchline for the internet to chew on. I could feel the star of the hospital's staff. Their judgment was thick in the air. No one said anything directly, but I saw it in their faces. Disgust, pity, something between the two. I didn't say a word. I signed the discharge papers with a numb hand, packed what little I had, and went straight to the airport. Hunter and I were never legally married, so leaving him required no paperwork, no court, no messy divorce, just a decision and a one-way ticket. Just as I was about to board, my phone buzzed a message from Hunter. I'll handle the rumors online. Just stay home and behave. If you keep making trouble, not even, I'll be able to protect you. I stared at the screen for a moment, then quietly deleted his number. No goodbye, no explanation. He didn't deserve one. Hunter had been on the verge of losing his patience. He was just about to send Gazelle over to the villa to check on me, until he happened to walk past the break room and heard her talking, her voice loud and full of mockery. You knew exactly what you were doing, didn't you? A co-worker laughed. Was that a diuretic? You slipped into her juice. Gazelle snorted. Please, a diuretic. That's child's play. I gave her an abortion pill. I nearly gagged from the smell last night. Someone added with a cackle. Gazelle rolled her eyes, her voice dripping with scorn. What's the point of playing nice trash like her? Doesn't deserve mercy. That baby's probably already gone. Hunter's hand froze on the doorknob. He stood there stunned, face drained of color, but the conversation inside kept going, every word cutting deeper. She really thought she had a place in the Lawson family. Come on, pregnant, after 8 years of marriage. Who even knows if it's his kid? Gazelle scoffed. They're not even legally married. I heard bet she's choking on regret, but too proud to admit it. Probably still hoping Hunter will come crawling back to her. Laughter rippled through the room. Everyone in the office knows who he really favors. Gazelle's young, hot, and actually knows how to keep him happy. Unlike that frumpy old cow. Now that the baby's gone, he's finally free. You played it. Smart girl. No joke. Another one chimed in. She did look kind of hot dancing last night, if you ignored the massive baby bump. No wonder he kept her around this long. Probably just for the eye candy. At least she's cleaner than those club girls. Gazelle scrolled through her phone, with a smug little smirk, reading the venomous comments about me online. Like they were love letters. Just one fake message, and Hunter believed everything. That old hug really thought she could compete with me, please. She probably can't even step outside without being recognized. Now, if I were her, I'd throw myself off a building and be done with it. No way I'd survive that kind of humiliation. Someone handed Gazelle a steaming cup of coffee, bowing like she was already royalty. When you officially become Mrs. Lawson, don't forget us, loyal little people. Gazelle flashed a self-satisfied grin. Don't worry with how close we are. Your pay is getting doubled. I take care of my own, but hey, one of them said nervously, maybe keep all this on the down low. You know, just in case President Lawson. The door swung open before he could finish. Hunter stood in the doorway, eyes like shards of ice, his whole body radiating fury. The room fell silent. Startled, Gazelle jumped, spilling hot coffee down her front. She winced, but quickly rushed over, forcing a smile through her panic. President Lawson, you are here. You should have said something. I'll get you some tea right away. Sensing the tension shift in the air, the other employees scrambled to make excuses and fled the room like rats abandoning a sinking ship. With trembling hands, Gazelle poured a cup of tea, her fingers barely steady as the liquid sloshed against the porcelain. Just as she turned to hand it over, Hunter's hand shot out and seized her wrist hard. The scalding tea spilled over her skin, and she gasped in pain as angry red splotches bloomed across her pale hand. President Lawson, that hurts. It's burning. She whimpered, her voice trembling. But Hunter didn't let go. If anything, his grip tightened, his knuckles whitened with tension. What's wrong? He asked coldly. His eyes locked on her like ice was there. Something said just now that I wasn't supposed to hear. Gazelle's lips parted in shock, but no words came out. Her face flushed a nervous pink. Gazelle, he said slowly, voice low and hard. After everything I've done for you all these years, is this how you repay me? She nodded quickly, as if trying to salvage the moment. You've been nothing but kind to me, sir. Without you, I wouldn't have survived in this city because of you. I've almost saved enough for my mother's surgery. I've always wanted to find a way to repay you properly and the apartment. You even helped with the rent. No one's ever treated me like that before. I don't care what anyone says about you. I'll always stand by your side, no matter what. Her voice softened as she spoke, and she leaned slightly toward him. Her posture calculated and familiar, like someone who had practiced this countless times. But Hunter immediately stepped back, his jaw tightening as a wave of bitterness darkened his face. Gazelle stiffened, confused by the sudden coldness. He let out a hollow laugh. All that generosity, and this is what I get in return. He paused, his gaze sharp. No matter how much Raina has changed, she's still my wife, the only woman I've ever truly loved. The only reason we never signed a marriage certificate was because I was too caught up building the company. That's on me, not her. You want to know why I've been helping you all this time? His words sliced through the air. It's not because you are talented. Frankly, your performance at work has always been average. Your resume doesn't stand out, and your skills are nothing special. Gazelle's eyes widened. Her breath caught in her throat. I helped you because you reminded me of who Rena used to be years ago. She was just like you, drowning in debt, yet too proud to give up. When I first met her, she was working 4 jobs a day just to pay for her mother's surgery. By the time I had the means to help, it was already too late. Her mother had passed. I promised her I would make it up to her, and yes, I failed her. I broke that promise. But no matter what, Gazelle, you have no right to judge her. You are just my secretary. Remember your place. Gazelle's face turned ghostly pale. President Lawson, please. You've misunderstood. I didn't mean it like that. But Hunter cut her off sharply. Didn't mean it. Then explain the video, the text message. What were those about? He stepped closer. Eyes hard. Don't insult my intelligence. Gazelle, pack your things. I don't want to see you in this office ever again. He turned to leave, but Gazelle lunged forward and grabbed his arm in desperation. President Lawson, please. I swear it wasn't on purpose. I posted the video by accident. I deleted it. The moment I realized, and the message it was sent anonymously, I thought it came from her, but maybe I was wrong. Please don't fire me. I'll be finished. I've spent every last cent on my mom's operation. If I lose this job, I'll have nothing left. I won't even be able to eat. Hunter shook her off with force, his voice sharp with fury. An accident, he repeated bitterly. You think I'm that naive? One careless video, and Rainer was torn apart by the internet. One anonymous message, and she lost our child. Your mistakes have cost more than you can ever repay. I used to think Rainer was being too harsh with you, but I heard everything you just said. He exhaled through his nose, jaw clenched. My biggest mistake was ever thinking you were worth helping. I paid you 3 times more than anyone else in the same position. I gave you everything you needed to start over. That's more than you deserved. From now on, how you survive is your problem, not mine. As he walked out the door, Gazelle's pleading voice echoed behind him, but he didn't stop. His thoughts were a chaotic mess. Too much had unraveled in just a few days, and now, all he wanted was to find Raina and make things right. He used to think I was just being insecure, worried about how pregnancy had changed my body. That in his mind explained why I always seemed to clash with Gazelle. Every time she cried to him, spun her version of events, he believed her without a second thought. That was why during that team-building event, he stood firmly by her side, no questions asked. But now everything had come crashing down. The truth was undeniable. I hadn't changed, not even a little pregnant, or not. No matter how hectic his work schedule got, I had always been the same rear. I never competed for his attention. I never accused or complained. I just quietly devoted myself to our home, focused on giving birth to our child in peace. But instead of cherishing that, he had chosen to protect Gazelle's feelings. He played along with her petty games and let her target me again and again. He stood by saying nothing as I was humiliated, publicly mocked, drugged, under the pretense of harmless fun. And last night when my dress was soaked and my body was in pain, he had believed Gazelle once again, brushed it off as some clumsy pregnancy accident. I then laughed about it with his colleagues. Now guilt crashed over him like a tidal wave. It was suffocating back at the office. He pushed all his work aside. There was only one thing running through his mind. He had to find me. He had to apologize, not just for last night, but for everything. For the neglect, the blindness, the betrayal of the past few days. He picked up his phone and sent a message delivered failure, a red exclamation mark. He tried again and again. Same result. I had blocked him. It had never happened before, not once in 8 years. Through all his long absences, the late nights at the office, even the times he forgot anniversaries and doctor's appointments, I had always forgiven him. The most I'd say was, "You must be tired." And then I'd show up with a thermos of soup, still warm from the stove. But now silence. He thought back to the last time we spoke, how distant, how cold I'd been for the first time in years. Panic took hold of him. He didn't even bother grabbing his coat. He rushed out of the building, heart pounding, heading straight home. But there were no messages, no calls, no sign of me. The silence stretched on and on. And if what Gazelle had hinted at was true, if she really had slipped something into my drink, then I might be in real danger. I could have collapsed. I could be in the hospital. His mind raced through every worst-case scenario. He'd already made so many mistakes. 8 years of distance. 8 years of taking me for granted. And now he might have lost me forever. The growing gap between us felt like a chasm. The baby, once our shared hope, was now his last chance at redemption, his only thread left to hold on to me. He hit the gas, ignoring the speed limit, pushing the car to its limit. But when he opened the front door of our villa, he stopped cold. The house was still too, still just like it had been 2 days ago. Everything looked untouched. He tore through the house, searching every room, calling my name, hoping I'd answer, but I was gone. My things were all there. The cozy nursery, I'd spent weeks decorating the unopened boxes of prenatal supplies stacked neatly in the corner. The tiny clothes I'd carefully folded, even the handmade toys and knitted blankets I'd prepared for the baby, each one a testament to how much love I had poured into our future. But I was nowhere to be found. Each room he passed was another stab to the heart. Only now did it hit him how much I'd been looking forward to our child, how deeply I had wanted this family, how much I had sacrificed. And for the first time in his life, Hunter felt true fear. Not even the looming threat of his company going bankrupt had ever made him feel so powerless. He thought of how I looked that night, clutching my stomach, clearly in pain, begging him for help. Maybe, just maybe, I was still at the club waiting for him to come back without wasting another second. He sped there, but when he asked the staff, they shook their heads. No one had seen me at all. He spent the entire night glued to the security monitors, scrubbing through hours of footage framed by painstaking frame. His eyes burned with fatigue, but he didn't stop. Couldn't stop until finally, just before dawn, he caught a glimpse of her there, a cleaner, helping Raina down the hallway in the early hours of the morning with trembling fingers. He tracked down the cleaner and called her immediately. Her voice, when she answered, was sharp with anger. She was bleeding. The woman snapped before he could even introduce himself. She was covered in blood when she left. I helped her into a cab and told her to go straight to the hospital. She hasn't contacted me since, but I'll never forget that sight. A pregnant woman clearly in pain, and left alone in some private room. Are you out of your mind? She didn't hold back. Is she your wife or your enemy? I've lived a long time, and I've never seen a man treat his pregnant wife like that. If you didn't want the baby, you could have said so at 8 months. Even the smallest mistake could have killed them. Both her scolding continued. But Hunter stopped hearing the words. Tears welled up in his eyes and spilled down his cheeks, splashing silently onto the phone screen. He ended the call without another word and ran out the door, heart pounding in his chest, on the way to the hospital. Memories of Reiner came rushing back with brutal clarity. He saw her years ago sitting beside him in the dark as he worked late into the night. She never complained, never asked for more, just stayed quietly content with his presence. He remembered coming home from long business dinners, only to find her waiting with warm food, a smile, and open arms. And those nights when the pressure nearly broke him, when his world felt like it was collapsing. She tried to lift his spirits with silly dances she learned online. At first her steps were clumsy, awkward even, but somehow they always made him laugh. She looked ridiculous and beautiful at the same time. He began recording those dances, not to mock her, not to share them, but so he could watch them later in the quiet hours when everything felt too heavy. Her smile had once been enough to silence all his demons. 8 years. She had loved him for 8 long years, quietly, steadfastly, until she had built a home inside his heart without him even noticing. But somewhere along the way, the colors had faded. Time had dulled the edges of his affection, blurred the reason he fell in love with her in the first place. He had forgotten. He had twisted her love into a joke, used her vulnerability for entertainment, passed around her videos like gossip. Only now did he realize the depth of his betrayal, and now it was too late. The car skidded to a stop outside the hospital. He barely waited for it to halt before jumping out. Security guards tried to block him, but he shoved past them, racing through the halls until he reached the maternity ward. A nurse stood at the desk. Her face was stone. Reina, she's already been discharged, she said flatly. The baby couldn't be saved. It was a fully developed baby boy. The words landed like a blade to the gut, but before he could process the grief, the nurse added with the seer, "What you hear to buy her services too. I've seen your kind before. Men like you make me sick." So what if she danced? Women like that get what they deserve. Something in Hunter snapped. He swung once, twice. "She's my wife," he shouted, fists clenched. "She's not some stripper. She's not." "Back off." The nurse screamed. "You lay another finger on me, and I'll have you thrown out of here in cuffs." Bystanders rushed in to break it up, but even among the crowd, there was no sympathy. One of them muttered under his breath, "Why is he making a scene? His wife's a tramp, not worth all this drama. She cheated on him." Another whispered, "And now he wants to act like the victim." The situation spiraled out of control. Hospital security called the police, and Hunter was taken into custody. He paid $100,000 to settle the assault charges. Legally, the matter was closed, but the damage had already been done even after he walked out of the station. The ridicule followed him like a shadow. Online forums, comment sections, gossip sites, all filled with scorn. Just being Rainer's husband was enough to make him a target. Strangers spat at his feet. Former colleagues turned their backs. He couldn't even walk down the street without hearing whispers, and he had no one to blame but himself. And if this was what he, merely a bystander, had to endure, he couldn't begin to fathom the hell Rear must have lived through without wasting a second. He ordered his legal team to file lawsuits against every platform that had reposted the video. The trending topic was swiftly removed from the internet then. He went to the police and reported Rainer as missing. Through their system, he finally discovered she had already left the country without hesitation. He raced to the airport, buying the earliest flight out. During the flight, his thoughts spiraled endlessly. He kept replaying the choices he made, the things he ignored, the truths he refused to see. If only he hadn't blindly believed Gazelle from the beginning. If only he had taken the time to really listen to Rena, maybe none of this would have happened. All of Rena's suffering, every wound, every tear, it was all because of him. He had caused it. He unlocked his phone, scrolling through their old chat history. Each message from Regina was gentle, warm, filled with the quiet love of someone who had never stopped hoping. "Hunter, once the baby is born, can we finally have our wedding? I want our child to witness our happiness. I'll skip the company retreat. Okay. I've gained so much weight lately. I don't want to embarrass you. Hunter, when are you coming home? I made your favorite ribs tonight." Her words were a mixture of love, self-consciousness, and longing. He had left them all unread, never once replied back. Then he told himself he was too busy, too tired. He'd convinced himself it didn't matter. In truth, he had been embarrassed, ashamed, even by how she looked during pregnancy. And yet he still brought Gazelle to that hotel. Now the tears had dried up. Even the burning in his eyes felt numb. His shirt was wrinkled from yesterday. He hadn't changed. His stubble had grown in uneven patches. He looked worn down, hollowed out. And in that moment of clarity, it finally hit him. It wasn't Reina who couldn't live without him. It was him. He was the one who couldn't live without her. As soon as the plane landed, he rushed to the apartment complex where she had been staying the entire ride over. He kept rehearsing what he'd say, how he'd beg, how he'd try to earn back even a sliver of her trust. When he finally appeared downstairs, I was squatting by the curb, feeding a few stray kittens. Their soft purring was the only thing that had kept me grounded through the past few days. Then a shadow fell across me, blocking the warm afternoon sun. "Rainer, it's me," came a voice I hadn't heard in days. "I'm sorry, I should have come sooner." The sun was behind him, so I couldn't make out his face, but his voice was full of remorse. Startled, I stood too quickly and lost my balance. Hunter stepped forward and caught me before I could fall. Only then did I notice the deep bags under his eyes, the faint tremble in his hands. He looked nothing like the man I used to know. He looked broken. "What are you doing here?" I asked coldly. "We never even registered our marriage." "I don't need your permission to leave." I pulled away from his grasp. His hand dropped stiffly to his side. "Rainer, I know I messed everything up," he said, his voice low and shaky. "I'm trying to fix it. I've already taken care of the video, filed the lawsuits, scrubbed everything I could from the internet. I know none of that makes up for what I did. But please just give me one more chance. You're not, well," he continued, his tone turning, "desperate. Being overseas, all alone without anyone to care for you. How could I not worry?" I let out a bitter, humorless laugh. "You think cleaning up the internet fixes what's already happened? Anyone who is going to see it already has. It's done. I'm doing fine here. No one knows me. No one's seen the video. I walk the streets without shame. No one to care for me." I turned to look him dead in the eyes. "Tell me, Hunter, who cared for me the past 8 years?" His lips parted, but no words came. "I'm tired," I whispered. "You love Gazelle. I get it now. So I'm stepping aside. You can have her. I won't stand in your way anymore. There's no reason for you to look for me again." His shoulders trembled. His voice cracked. No, I never loved her. Not like that. I only helped her because she reminded me of you. Her mom was in the hospital, and she was all alone, struggling just like you were back then. I just wanted to make up for what I failed to do for you. I didn't mean for her to misunderstand," he said softly, his voice trembling. "Please, Raina, believe me. For the past 8 years, it's only ever been you in my heart. No matter what Gazelle said or did, I never once thought about being with her." I let out a sharp, bitter doubt laugh. "Do you even hear yourself right now? You tried to soothe your guilt over how you treated me by turning around and caring for another woman." I shook my head, the ache in my chest too heavy to ignore. "That's not love, Hunter. That's desperation. It's pathetic. You say you love me. Then where were you when my private video went viral? Where were you when your so-called friends laughed behind my back, whispered about me like I was some kind of joke? You let the world humiliate me, and you stood by and did nothing. That kind of love." I looked him in the eye, my voice steady. "I don't want it." Hunter's composure crumbled completely without a word. He fell to his knees right in front of me, like a man who had nothing left to hold on to. "I've already fired Gazelle," he choked out. "She's gone for good from now on. There will only be you by my side. If you don't trust me, I'll transfer the company to your name. You can have it, everything I own, every last cent. I'll give it all to you. I swear, Rainer, I'll protect you this time. I'll never break my promise again. Just don't leave." I closed my eyes, a deep, soul-crushing exhaustion washing over me. The kind that didn't come from lack of sleep, but from being let down too many times by the same person. "Hunter," I whispered, "don't you get it? We passed the point of no return a long time ago. If I had the chance to go back, I wish I'd never met you." My voice softened, but every word landed like a final blow. "Let's end this quietly. Don't make me hate you." I turned and walked away, back toward my apartment. I didn't look back. Hunter didn't leave. He stayed there, kneeling under the cold night sky like a statue. I could hear the sharp echoing sound of slaps, his own hands against his face, over and over again, until the sky turned pale. I drew the curtains closed, and for the first time in days, allowed myself to fall into a heavy, dreamless sleep. When I woke up the next morning, he was gone, but the headlines were everywhere. The source of the leaked video had been uncovered. Gazelle had been arrested for defamation and illegally sharing explicit content. In the footage from her arrest, she was crying uncontrollably, begging the officers to let her see her mother, who was hospitalized. The police agreed, but when they brought her to the hospital, her mother, upon learning the full truth of her daughter's actions, collapsed and died from the shock. Gazelle was sent to prison. And with that, the endless tide of online abuse finally came to a halt. As for Hunter, the scandal destroyed his company's reputation. Investors pulled out. Clients walked away. Within weeks, the business was hanging by a thread. Then one day, I received a wire transfer, $50 million, from Hunter. Shortly after the company officially shut down, he became a national disgrace. The man once praised as a visionary CEO had fallen from grace. Everyone who once flattered him now turned their backs. As for me, I left the country quietly. With that money, I opened a small cafe in a peaceful little town. Overseas life became simple again, gentle, quiet. But sometimes, just sometimes, I'd catch myself pausing in front of baby stores, staring at the tiny clothes, the soft toys, the cribs in the window. And in those quiet moments, I'd think maybe in a life like mine, being spared from being born was the kindest fate I could have given that child. Some days I'd catch the scent of baby powder on a stranger passing by, or hear the soft coop of a newborn in a mother's arms, and something inside me would ache a deep, hollow longing that no amount of time could fully erase. But I wouldn't cry, not anymore. Instead, I'd pour another cup of coffee for a sleepy tourist smile at the regulars who had come to know me simply as Rain, and sweep the floor of my quiet little cafe as sunlight streamed through the windows. No more scandals, no more cameras, no more begging to be believed. Just the soft hum of morning chatter, the warmth of freshly baked bread, and the silence of a life. Finally, free from chaos, I had lost many things. Some I would never get back. Somewhere between heartbreak and healing, I found something far more precious: peace. And this time I wouldn't trade it for anything in the world. Thank you for watching today's story. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and share it with your friends. We'd love to hear your thoughts in the comments below, so feel free to share your opinions. And don't forget to subscribe to our channel for more great stories. We'll see you in the next video.